Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about 5 meta heroes, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about how to counter these heroes. So instead of talking about why they're broken, which is usually what we do here on this channel, I'm going to be going over Undying, Marci, Visage, Naga, Siren, and Drow Ranger, 5 of the highest win rate heroes in Dota right now, and discussing a few heroes that you can pick against them to counter them and have a good game. So without further ado, let's hop into it and start with Undying. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like literally with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. All right, getting into Undying, I want to keep this one really simple. I have one honorable mention and then one main pick. The main pick is Enigma. So let's get into Enigma. Honestly, I want to cover this one quickly because I feel like it's just the main thing I would recommend. I will go over an honorable mention, of course, as I said though. Why is Enigma a hero against Undying? Undying as a 3, Undying as a 5. Why is Enigma good against Undying? Well, the main thing Undying needs to do in the lane is play in a way in which he can just kick them off the early creep waves. In fact, the new Undying can even kick you off the creep wave that spawns at minute 4 and minute 5. This hero is straight up insane. And so basically what I'm saying is, if you can't get the lane back, or if you're just not tanky enough, Undying will inevitably zone you out. You will get zoned out. Don't get zoned out. How do you do that? You pick Enigma, you sack the range creeps over and over again, and eventually the lane will continue to meet under your tower, or close to your tower, optimally if you're a good player. You will static the wave outside of your tower, and as a result, the Undying can't pressure you. He's a melee hero at the end of the day. He can't do anything to Eidolons. A decent amount of supports can, not a lot, but a decent amount can. Undying can't. He doesn't deal well when the creep wave's near the tower. And in the mid game, the Eidolons are actually very high damage against Tombstone. They're good damage against Undying. Midnight Pulse destroys Undying when he ulties because he has high HP pull. And so overall, this matchup is just good. And the other hero that's really interesting as a counter to me is, funny enough, is Elder Titan. So this one's a bit niche, but the hero's win rate is actually the best on Dota 2 Pro Tracker against Undying. And honestly, the main reason for this that I could see is number one, the ulti is a hard counter to Undying. Undying, obviously, when he flesh columns, has extremely high HP. We all know this. So when you pick Elder Titan, it's just crazy how much damage the ulti, the Split Earth, does to the Undying. So it gives you a really easy way to burst this high HP hero. On top of that, high HP heroes like Undying really struggle against Elder Titan because he reduces their armor and their magic resists. So tanky heroes all of a sudden are just not that tanky. It's also really easy to sleep Undying in fights, or even before the fight starts, because the hero isn't fast when Flesh Golem is down. So there's kind of just a lot of upside to this matchup. It's also one of the heroes that if you do lane it against Undying, can actually man up to an extent, which is cool, right? You have a hero that can actually trade at least a little with Undying. So in general, Elder Titan is a cool little niche pick you could go. Even as an offlaner, it's something you could keep in mind that does decent throughout the game. I also think the zombies give you damage on Spirit. Don't quote me on that though, I don't know. All right, getting into the second meta hero I want to talk about, we have Marci. So Marci, if you don't understand this hero, basically as a core and a support, it is a good laner, very well-rounded laner with broken mid-game spells. A stun, a slow, lifesteal, damage, and then its ulti just kills anyone. It solo kills straight up anyone. So how do you deal with this? Well, the main thing Marci relies on getting into the mid and late game team fights, which is often what determines pub victories or not, is her BKB timing. This hero has to auto attack and auto attack a lot. That's what her ulti is. You have to stand next to someone and punch over and over and over again. You can't do that if you don't have BKB. Generally, right, most of the time. So what heroes counter this? Well, first off, heroes that Marci can't figure out which one is real counter this, right? So Naga Siren is the first hero we're going to talk about. Naga Siren doesn't really get pressured by Marci in lane. You can fight back really easily because of how good Naga's illusions and how good Riptide is at level 2. So Naga's an interesting one in that regard, right? You can fight back against Marci in the lane. And on top of that, you have your Ags on Naga. If you don't know what it does, it makes your net go through BKB. This is massive for a clear reason. When Marci ulties and clicks BKB, you have a very clear option. net her with your Ags, assuming you've bought it to counter the Marci. Even if it's support Marci, I genuinely think it's a good idea. Or you can click Song and isolate the BKB'd Marci, and your team can focus her down. But the big thing is that Marci's pulses no longer slow attack speed, it's the actual auto attack of the hero. Meaning that if you get Ags netted by a Naga, there's a chance you'll just die, right? Because you're not slowing the attack speed of all the illusions. So essentially, Naga is very, very good against Marci because you counter the BKB and you do a lot of damage. Also, you lane well against the hero. On top of that, Marci's wave clear is complete garbage compared to a lot of position 4 heroes. And so when Naga is splitting the map, Marci cannot help with this at all. And the next one is Beastmaster. And honestly, there's a lot of similarity between Beastmaster and Naga, and it's why both of the heroes are good against Marci. You have units that Marci doesn't really deal with, as the pulses are not necessarily great in an AoE anymore. You have an ulti that goes through Marci's BKB. You have high physical damage to burst her during that ulti, which is good against Marci when she's BKB'd. So essentially you shut down Marci's main purpose in the mid game, to go in, initiate the fight, pop BKB and solo kill someone. You can't do that against Beastmaster. It straight up doesn't work, and you should be happy even if the Marci is a support, if she BKBs to roar her, take her out of the fight, and start the fight on a good note. So yeah, also in terms of the split push and pushing towers, Marci doesn't do anything to stop it, therefore Beast counters her hard. Next up, let's talk about Visage. A very dominant offlaner, the highest win rate hero in Dota right now on Dota buff, across all brackets, it's Visage. So how do you counter Visage? Well, there's a couple ways. Funny enough, Naga and Beast, heroes that we just talked about, both counter Visage. Visage doesn't do well against units because he doesn't do any AoE damage, so he hates Naga, right? Naga doesn't care about the birds, can lane well against Visage for the most part. It mid-game splits the map and Visage doesn't like that. It can delay the Visage's timings by cutting the creep waves and delaying the game. So it kind of just has a lot of ways to counter him in that way. On top of that, a really cool interaction is you can Song of the Siren and kill the Wraith Pack. And if you don't, you might be like, oh, that's not a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal early game. Being able to just Song and kill it, it's really big. Next is Beastmaster. The reason why here is Visage he kind of can play this like pokey game in team fights where he like goes in and then he's too tanky. He just won't die to a lot of comps. With Beast, it's just too much physical damage. Visage has an armor problem, straight up. He has an armor problem. Even with Vlad's, he has an armor problem. Until he gets AC, which is way late into the game, he has an armor problem and he dies to physical damage. Like Bristleback chunks through Visage. Bristleback doesn't counter Visage. I'm not going to get into that, but if you do get gone on by a Bristle and he goos you up a bunch, your hero can't deal with it. So yeah, it just creates a problem. On top of that, Visage relies on Shard to keep himself alive mid to late game. If you get roared, you can't do it, and it is a big deal. Next up is Wyvern. You curse people next to the birds. And then finally is Huskar. You disarm the birds and you buy Halberd, which makes the birds miss. So it's mainly about disarming the birds, to be honest. That's really the biggest thing. Yeah, that's mostly what it is. All right, getting into the next one, you notice how Naga has been on 2 of the counters. This hero's winner is really high at a high level and at every level. So let's talk about how to counter it. The main one is Pudge. Pudge as a core just dumpsters Naga. Even as support, it's good because you can eat the person who she nets. If you want to go Shard, you can hook them out of the net. You turn on Flesh Heap so you don't die to the illusions. You can kill the illusions in the side lanes. You just always counter Naga. If you lane against Naga, you rot her illusions with Flesh Heap. She can't fight back. Late game, if she goes on your teammate, you just kill the illusions with Rot. You slow them down so they can't actually chase your teammate. You can buy Shivas as a core item, which counters Naga really hard. It's just like everything about Pudge just counters Naga. Naga can't kill Pudge through Flesh Heap. The Riptide does no damage. The autos do limited damage as Naga's main damage is largely Riptide. So it's just not... As long as you buy a Ag Shivas, Naga is so bad against Pudge, it's insane. And then Morphling is the next one. Why Morphling? This one's weird, right? Well, you buy Manta, so you can counter the net, right? You counter the net. You also counter the Orchid that Naga often buys, so there's that. Other than that, it might seem weird. It's like physical damage or single target damage against Naga. Why is that good? It's not. But what is good is Adaptive Strike is a lot of magic damage, which is good. It helps you kill her. It's only single target, which isn't great. But the big thing is Ags. Ags Morphling counters Naga really hard. Because how Morphling Ags works is you turn into the enemy. You steal their stats, straight up. You steal their strength, agi, int. Then, based on the enemy's primary stat, you also steal their attack speed if they're agi. Naga's agi. You steal her attack speed and you get attack speed. And you might be like, okay, well, that's good, but that works against any agi hero. So what's the big deal? Well, it works against illusions. You can turn into Naga off her illusion, and the Ags component works too. So if you steal her illusion, if you turn into Naga with the illusion, you steal the main hero's stats. You heard me correctly. If you use it on an illusion, you sap the main hero, which means she farms slower. If she makes more illusions, they're weaker. You steal her stats and attack speed, and then you get it all. And then you turn into Naga, which means you get Naga Net, which is really good on Morphling, illusions, which is good on Morphling. So mid-game to late game, when you have the Morph Duration talent, you can casually, when the Naga's split pushing, turn into Naga, make illusions, and use illusions to split push. So you can deal with Naga by being Naga. It's just good. And then finally, the last hero I want to talk about is Drow Ranger. And that is an interesting hero that has such a high win rate, as no pro team picks this hero. But in pubs, apparently has a high win rate. I would say the heroes that also counter Drow can counter Arc Warden if you're interested in that concept. First off is Sniper. You outrange Drow and you kill her team and she can't threaten you. A lot of carries go in and die to Drow. Sniper does not. Therefore, he kills her team. And generally does higher damage than Drow does early game, so I think he kind of outfights Drow early. I think he honestly outfights Drow generally at every point in the game, even outranges her, which basically means that at some point in the game, if it comes down to sort of a duel, Sniper will win. He will win the duel. And that's a problem for Drow, because she usually can kite a lot of heroes. She can't kite Sniper at all, and he kills her team. Next is Chen. Chen is an interesting one because he doesn't kill Drow, kind of. He kind of actually can kill Drow. The units can dive her under the tower. Like, you know, you're great for tanking towers and diving Drow, which he hates. So there is that, and that's a big part of it. But also it's just the tempo of Chen. When Drow is weak and still farming her Dragon Lance and her like Manta and whatever, he just takes all the towers, buys a mech, runs down the lanes. And Drow, you know, multi-shot can kill the units a bit. But even then in the team fights, you actually can tank Drow's multi-shot with your units. Like, it's kind of weird because your units are going to die, but it keeps your teammates alive. It completely tanks it out. You pop the mech, you pop the Hand of God, it nullifies multi-shot damage early game completely. It's really easy to dive the Drow. You can take Roshan, out-tempo her. You can literally solo kill her in the jungle. Like, a level 7 Chen can kill like a level 9 Drow in the jungle if he finds her alone. I'm not kidding. If you're good at Chen, you can do it. You just can. So it's a good matchup. And finally is Enigma. This one's definitely really, really favorable. In the lane, Drow can kind of hit the Eidolons, but like, let's say the Enigma's laning with Tiny. If that Drow gets tossed on a Eidolons, she's just dead. She's just dead. The wave is going to be near the tower, so she has to be so afraid of walking up. Drow hates walking up near the enemy tower. She hates it. She can't get away. So the Enigma just puts Eidolons on her, which crush ranged heroes because they don't have built-in Stout Shield block. Crushes ranged heroes. She has low movement speed, so the Eidolons chase her down. She can't really kill them. Multi-shot's decent, but it doesn't, like, let's say the Eidolons are behind the creep wave. You can't just multi-shot them, right? So it's really not that straightforward. And if you run through the creep wave to try to kill them, the Enigma should just stun you and hit you. So like, it doesn't work. And then late game, Midnight Pulse isn't really good against Drow, but Black Hole is. It's very easy to Black Hole Drow. She can go Blink, but most don't. And then just solo Black Hole her, you know what I mean? Like, if she BKBs, just Black Hole her, she'll die. And yeah, you get on top of her with the Black Hole, cancel her ulti out, she's useless. So you kind of just dumpster her in lane. You also put a very high tempo if you want to rush a Wraith Pact or a Vessel. You can play very high tempo. And then Black Hole against Drow is just very straightforward. Drow can't really get away from it. She can't kite. Her range isn't that good compared to like Sniper, for instance. Sniper's better against Enigma because he can kill the Eidolons better from further away. And in team fights, he can stay further away, which makes it harder to get Black Hole. Drow's range is kind of underwhelming compared to some other range heroes like Sniper. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video about meta counters. If you feel like I missed anything, let me know, or I'm wrong. I'd be happy to hear what you have to say in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.